Hello everyone, welcome to the first tutorial. In this video we're going to be going over the introduction to V-Ray and the asset editor interface. So firstly, to activate V-Ray, what you want to do is go up here to render, go to current renderer and make sure it's set to V-Ray for Rhino. Then to open the asset editor interface, you click here on V-Ray and click asset editor. So this is your main interface you'll be using for rendering. So let's start off by looking under here under the settings. So these are all your main render settings. So you got render here, which you can choose to make it interactive, which means you can create a render and then work on your project and it will update the render constantly. We'll go over more settings in detail later on. Then you got your camera settings, you set the light levels and exposure. Your render output settings, this is where you can set the image size for your final render and aspect ratio. And if you click on the arrows on either side to expand, it gives you further information on each setting. So you can go into more detail about your render output settings, but there's no need for that right now. And then we've got the materials tab here. So when you click on the arrow on the left, it'll open up this tab on the left, which is all your materials. V-Ray comes with a bunch of default materials, and they're quite good. So they're all set into these folders here. So say if you want to add some glass, and then you go right click on it, and go add to scene, and it will show up here under your materials tab. So if you select the material, all the properties for it come up on the right. So if you're setting your own materials, then this is really good to adjust each parameter. So you got things such as reflection, the opacity of it. You can set different type of material textures and all that kind of stuff. And under here, you've got the light tab. So what happens is if we add a light into our scene, if you go here, V-Ray lights, we'll add a rectangle light. You can see under this tab, the light pops up here. And this is where you can adjust all of the settings for the light. Then under geometries, this is any physical asset that you put in via V-Ray. For example, if you put in the grass using the V-Ray fur, V-Ray objects, you go add fur, the grass will pop up under this section. Here you've got render elements. We'll go over this later, which is more for final rendering. And you've also got textures under here. So that's a basic introduction to the V-Ray asset editor.